One of the things that well, first of all, thank you, Father Michael, and for inviting me to do this and to be a part of the panel with such other speakers and people who also know how relevant and important mental health is, particularly in the time of COVID. And for most of
Goodbye.
us, we might not have thought we would be dealing with a pandemic in our lifetime.
Okay, honey,
And
I
here
got
we
it.
are. I chose this topic because it seems like a very simple concept and topic, but I find when I talk about it with clients, it's more of a revelation. And the revelation is I'm allowed to be nice to myself. I can be nice to myself. And the answer is yes. Yes. You can and you should. And hopefully by the end of this presentation, you will be able to start practicing self-compassion and understand the importance and benefits of being kind to yourself. Just make sure. Oh, you know what? Bear with me. Oh, this is something else I wanted to say. So I've been attended so many
You
Zoom
should
meetings
and do
this
what?
year,
You mute yourself.
and but I've never been a presenter. So I think I have to start immediately by practicing self-compassion to myself because I already am not able to click to the next slide. So bear with me just a moment.
If you use
And
it on the keyboard, the arrows, that
uh,
might.
yeah, oh, there we go. Okay, yep. And we did a practice run too, Father Michael, didn't we? And thank you. So I love this quote, which is if your compassion does not include yourself, it is incomplete. Most of us, all of us, we know how to be compassionate to others. But when it comes to being compassionate to ourselves, that is just really a foreign concept. It feels strange. It can feel strange. And so that is something that, oh, if you hear any barking during the presentation, it's just our little dogs. So I just want to let you know in advance. The guru, I like to call her the guru of self-compassion, was Dr. Kristen Neff, is Dr. Kristen Neff. She actually got her PhD at UC Berkeley, and now she teaches at the University of Texas. So for over 15 years, she has studied self-compassion, the benefits, the effects, and what happens when we practice self-compassion. And I noted some things on the slide here, but she found that in the research, she created a scale that people could answer, and it was really in depth, and that practicing self-compassion strongly supports and is related to less stress, a decrease in stress, a decrease in perfectionism, an increase in happiness, life satisfaction, an increase in making healthier lifestyle choices, greater motivation, taking self-responsibility, feeling more connected to others, which translates to better interpersonal relationships. So in short, better mental health, which for all of us is something that we're striving towards, um, particularly now. Um, and this is one way to really be able to tap into something that you already possess inside you. So what is self-compassion? We know what compassion is to others. So Kristen Neff says that there are three components. So one component is mindfulness. And what it means in this context, the context of self-compassion, is to acknowledge when we're going through a difficult time, when when we're struggling, we're having a difficult moment, when we're stressed, to just acknowledge it, not to judge ourselves, not to make a judgment about it, just acknowledge it. This is a stressful time. This is a stressful moment. I'm struggling right now. It's an objective, not even an evaluation, but just a noticing, a taking note of what is going on. The second component is the self-kindness piece. Being supportive and understanding to yourself, treating yourself the way that you would treat a good friend. Not criticizing yourself, not judging yourself. So it's another non-judgmental piece. The third component is humanity. And to know that you're not alone, that we are all connected. We are all human. We all make mistakes. We all experience difficult times. We all struggle. We all have stress. And to feel not isolated, but connected in the human experience. So to elaborate on talking to a best friend, and how would we, so if we have a friend that says, we had a friend that said to us, today at work, oh my gosh, I made a mistake. I made this mistake. I hit reply all on the email, or I deleted a document, or you can kind of fill it in, whatever it is. A friend tells you they made a big mistake, whatever it is. I am really 99.9% sure none of you would say to your really good friend or family member or loved one, "You're so stupid. I can't believe you did that." Who does that? You're the only person that would ever do something like that. That's terrible. You know, I mean, it's like even saying those things just feels terrible to even say those things, because you would not say that. You wouldn't say those things. We say those things or similar things to ourselves. And we can change that. We can talk to ourselves with empathy, with kindness. We can give ourselves grace. We can support ourselves just like we would a friend, provide comfort. We can be understanding. You know, we would say to a friend, "Oh my goodness, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Oh no, I've been there. That's happened to me before. I've done that. I've made mistakes before." And sit with them, comfort them, relate to them, validate them. We don't do that to ourselves. So one of the big myths, there are 3 big myths of self-compassion. Myth number 1 is a pretty big one, which is it's selfish. And what's so interesting is that self-compassion actually helps you be good to others. Because when you are judging yourself harshly and really embroiled in self-criticism, you're really focused on yourself. You're really focused on yourself. And you don't have the reserves. You often don't have, or as much reserves to give to others. So you're spending all this sort of space and energy and time being mean to yourself, beating yourself up. And it takes away from being good to others, giving to others. So not only that, but research has found that when we are good to ourselves, when we are compassionate to ourselves, when we are kind to ourselves, that actually we are able to sustain the act of caring for others. So our reserves are shored up. There's fuel in the tank, so to speak. We've got that energy hasn't been depleted. our stamina, that's the word I was looking for. Our stamina is much better. So it directly transmits to others. We put our oxygen mask, the instructions are put our oxygen mask on first before we help others. It's a good analogy to self-compassion. So I did want to touch on, my goodness, I am not a spiritual leader or anything like that. So I would, of course, defer anything to Father Michael. I think it's Father Pete is in here, or anybody. But in doing research for this presentation tonight, one of the things that I really took note of is that self-compassion and Christianity, there have been, it seems that sometimes it could appear that they are in conflict, that, and it sort of goes into the selfish piece, like, you know, oh, I don't put myself first. Oh, I don't, you know, I don't care about myself. I just care about everybody else. But what's really neat to know is that God really cares about us. He puts, you know, he puts all of us first. He really cares about us, and he doesn't want to, you know, he didn't create us to be really mean to ourselves. And so I love this quote, actually, by an Eastern Orthodox priest and psychologist, which I thought was really, really wonderful and interesting, which is, our spiritual and psychological problem seems to be that we don't fully comprehend how valuable we are to God, how important we are to him. If we did, we would behave much differently than we do. And I think in terms of self-compassion, we would be so much kinder to ourselves. We would talk so much nicer to ourselves. We would support ourselves during times of difficulty. We would comfort ourselves. And in this image and this quote is really just about that self-rejection is in conflict with spirituality. And when we really criticize ourselves and are harsh to judge ourselves so harshly, it's not treating ourselves as beloved. And we are beloved. We are beloved. And so this is something that I think is really important to remember, that not only are we using our, that we give to others, that we want to care for others and be there for others and be generous with others, with our time, our support, our energy, all the things that we do for other people, but to know that we are just as deserving. We are just as deserving. And that by being good to ourselves, we, again, in turn, are good to and for others. Myth number 2, it will make me complacent. Sometimes there's a thought that self-compassion means, I don't know, you're going to, you know, oh, self-compassion means what? I'm going to, you know, light candles around my house and, you know, take a bubble bath, and I'm just going to be lazy and I'm not going to do anything. Research shows it actually increases your motivation to achieve your goals, because all that noise, you don't have all that noise in the way. And so you're able to, because you're not judging yourself, you're able to just continue to move along the path of whatever your goals are, whatever it is that you want to achieve. And so it helps you want to keep learning and growing and doing. And it also enhances your personal accountability, because you can take stock of what has happened. If something has happened, you can acknowledge it. Okay, this is what happened. I made a mistake. Maybe you need to make amends. Maybe you need to correct your mistake. And then you can move on instead of the constant berating and getting stuck. Myth number 3 is that self-compassion is self-pitying. And actually, it is the antidote. So by practicing self-compassion, you are less likely to get swallowed up in the negative thoughts and feelings about how bad things are. So you don't get all caught up in that. We're able not only to acknowledge difficult times, difficult feelings, we're able to experience them fully and let them go. I don't know about all of you, but I'm guessing, again, trying to push our feelings aside or to ignore our feelings, sometimes it works for a while, but they're always there. They don't go away. So this allows us to experience what's going on, the difficult situation, our difficult feelings, and move through them. And this is also wonderful. Reduced tendency to ruminate, which is that excessive worry that can plague us. And again, over this past year, I feel like there's actually been more to worry about and more to be compassionate to ourselves about. The research shows it reduces our tendency to ruminate, decreasing anxiety, and improving our mood. In researching self-compassion, they looked at self-esteem compared to self-compassion. Self-esteem, especially in our culture, in the United States, could be the way some of us grew up, could be, it's a lot about being the best or better or special, above average. Where self-compassion is non-judgmental, feeling connected, feeling the same, having the same experiences as someone else, as other people. Self-esteem is really there for you when you succeed. If you fail or you make a mistake, self-esteem is out of there. Where self-compassion is more reliable. It will be there when you succeed, when you fail, when you make a mistake, it's there all the time. Self-compassion manifests in our bodies. There is like a feel-good hormone called oxytocin that actually is released when we are compassionate to ourselves. It's released when if someone, touches us gently or hugs us, like we feel comforted and we feel safe and calmed and comforted. And so when we practice, the same thing happens when we practice self-compassion. This is, again, from research, that it triggers the release of that. And it takes down our cortisol levels. And cortisol is what makes us feel, when it's up, when it's high, it's anxiety. It's a lot of, just a lot of anxiety. It's that trigger to make you feel more that something is, wrong and anxious. And so the oxytocin also calms down your cardiovascular system and allows you to really take in the compassion that you're offering to yourself. Self-criticism. So a part of our brain, the amygdala, is responsible for the fight or flight, our fight or flight response, which can be really come in handy. If a bear is chasing you, that system is on it. It is enabled immediately. because there's a threat. Over time, now if there's an emotional situation, this fight or flight reaction can occur when it is not warranted at all. And one of the things that will trigger this fight or flight response when it is not needed, it is not necessary, it is not helpful, it is not productive, is self-criticism. Because we perceive we are not only, we are the attacker and the attacked. So it's a lose-lose situation. We don't need it in those situations. So self-compassion is going to combat that and keep that fight or flight. It's not going to be triggered. It won't be triggered. You can literally change your biochemical experience, which is really, really great. I wanted to do a quick exercise with all of you. This is again, Dr. Neff. I'm telling you, she really has this thing down. She has something on her website that is a way to practice self-compassion. This will just take a couple minutes. And it's something that you can do. You can practice it on your own. You can, it's a nice thing to practice just even when you're not feeling stressed or a low level of stress, so that when you are in a more difficult situation, you're able to bring it into that moment and really utilize the skill, utilize the skill. So if you would, and you can close your eyes if you like, you don't need to. And be comfortable and think of a situation in your life that is difficult right now or stressful. You're feeling that you're struggling. And as you think of this, you may even feel uncomfortable in your body. You may notice that. Say to yourself, this is a moment of suffering. You might say, this hurts. I really hurt. This is stress. This is hard. This is difficult. There's really no right or wrong phrase. It's whatever sounds what sounds like it captures whatever you are experiencing. This is mindfulness. We're just acknowledging what we are experiencing and what we're feeling. Suffering is part of life. Stress is part of life. Struggling is part of life. Difficult times are part of life. This is humanity. We all experience these difficult times and struggles. This is how we are connected. This is how we are. We tend to think we're so different. And we are so much more alike and so much more the same. This is humanity, the human experience. Put your hands on your heart. And the self-kindness piece is, you can say, what do I need to hear right now to express kindness to myself? May I accept myself as I am? May I give myself the compassion that I need? May I forgive myself? May I be strong? May I be patient? Anything that you need to hear in the moment, at that time. What do you need? This is a practice you can do anytime in any situation, and it can be longer or shorter. Sometimes it's just a quick, this is what I need right now in this moment. This may be something you've all heard before. You can't pour from an empty cup. Running on empty, I just liked this. Break the habit before it breaks you. Because when we're running on empty, or sometimes I've said running on fumes, you just feel like you're out of gas, but you just keep going. It's just like you're barely, you really don't have that much left, but you just keep going somehow. So self-care 101, a lot of these things we would say to someone else, oh, just do this, or, oh, you need to relax, or why don't you go on a walk? That's really helpful. Or why don't you, oh, just get off of Facebook? That's what that's what I was thinking that would be a really good idea. But we don't take care of ourselves. Again, we're really good at taking care of others. So relaxing, resting. Mindfulness doesn't have to be sitting in a yoga position for an hour meditating. Mindfulness is being present in the moment, whatever it is, whatever you're doing. So it could be a hobby, it could be taking a walk, looking around, looking at nature, praying. You are present in that moment. Nurture your social support and connections, which has been really difficult with COVID. Not able to see each other in person. So find the ways that you can do that, which again, like here we are on Zoom, phone calls, all the ways that you've been connecting, continue to do so. Say no. No, I'm not available. No, I can't. I'm not able to do that. It's good and important to take care of yourself. Doesn't mean you're going to say no to everything. Just sometimes saying no is self-compassion. It's giving yourself a break. Bottom line, making mistakes means you're learning, you're growing, you're experiencing something new, you're trying something you've never done before. And I love this last line. And most importantly, you're doing something. You're doing something. We have to be active in our own rescue, in our own self-care, in our own self-compassion. Well, obviously, in self-compassion, it's for ourselves. So and it's an active process. So ways that we can practice it, just to review a little bit, some of what I've talked about is, what do I need to hear in this moment? I'm doing the best I can. And that's okay. That's enough. I'm doing the best I can right now. It's understandable that I feel this way. I know other people feel this way. It's okay to make a mistake. Other people make mistakes. We're all human. Oh, this is just a little, yeah, spend time, with other people, cook, go outside, be encouraging to yourself, give yourself a hug. You're welcome to do this with me, or you don't have to, but if you and this is something you can do also really inconspicuously if you're around a lot of people, is you just can put like one hand on each elbow and just sort of like squeeze a little bit. And you're giving yourself like a hug. Speaking of hugging, which we haven't really been able to do with a lot of people. So again, it's something that we can do that actually, even though we're giving ourselves a hug, it has that same effect, that physiological effect, that self-compassion, that's part of it. can have that same physiological effect of comfort, of safety, of kindness, of trust. Practicing self-compassion on a regular basis can be life-changing. When we treat ourselves like we treat a good friend, we alter the way that we do things. We are more motivated. We have more energy for other people, for other experiences, and we feel connected. So it's something that it's not just if you do it one time, it certainly can change your day or change that moment. But think about how would it be if we treated ourselves so kindly all the time? It might sound really foreign and really hard to even imagine it, but we deserve it. We are worthy of it. And we need to be our own best friends. Treat ourselves like our best friends. This next slide is from, there's a lovely little book that I have. It's called Children's Letters to God. And as you can only imagine, they are delightful and hilarious. And this is the very last letter. And I think that we are all doing the best we can. We're all human. Sometimes we do amazing things and we succeed, and sometimes we are having a tougher time. So, Frank, I'm trying to. I'm doing the best I can too. So I hope that this has been a bit of sort of kind of a lighter overview of self-compassion. I think it's something that you could even start tonight, tomorrow, to take care of yourselves, to speak softly and gently to yourselves, lovingly to yourselves, and to know that in particular this past year, you have been doing the best you can, and that this has been one of those experiences that more so than a lot of things, I feel like we can say to each other, I know what you're feeling. There's a more of a connectedness to a certain extent, because this is affecting all of us. Yeah, so take care of yourselves. Be kind to each other, but be kind to yourself. So.
Well, thank you so much, Angela. That was really wonderful. And I got to tell you, I think it's a concept that we've all heard of before, but thank you for delving in and exploring it to such lengths. Really appreciate that. And it's such a difficult thing to do, because I feel like in our culture, we value productivity, we value, busyness.
Yeah.
And to say, actually, when you think of yourself as tired and, all the stress in your life, here's actually what you can do. It's difficult because it's just so counterculture to what we value.
Well,
So thank you.
Yeah, and you're welcome. I was just going to say one more thing, which is that our culture is that we think self-criticism motivates us. That's what's going to make us, really do more. When really it exhausts us, and it tears us down. you know, where self-compassion is like, hey, it's okay. You know, you're doing okay. Okay, it's okay. And it's, so then we have that, it actually, it's more motivating. So yeah, yeah, it's,
And I love that image of when we have someone who's close to us, a friend who's hurting, how would we speak to them versus how do we speak to ourselves when we're hurting? And they're two very different voices.
yeah, yeah. Hmm.
Um, we can open up uh, the session to anyone who has any questions. Does anyone have any questions for Angela?
I'd just like to say it. I like the illustrations that you used. It made it easy for me to understand, especially give yourself a hug. Well, you don't want to sit around anybody and just, oh, it's grab your elbows and, when you need to, just for that moment to gather your thoughts, and it's okay. And you can imagine God hugging you at the same time,
Yeah.
because he's right there with us. And it's making sure we don't forget his role in all of this, because he loves us unconditionally. And so if we can apply that, just as you were saying, it should provide us with a lot more peace.
Wow. And again, it's so difficult. It's like it's one of those things that it's it's easy enough to understand, but it's so difficult to do. I mean, I think one of the 10 commandments that we all break is resting on the Sabbath. How many of us actually take off, completely take off on Sundays, right? And even Christ, you mentioned, I really loved your self-care 101 slide that you had with all the ideas, and you had spiritual care there, and even Christ took time away to pray on his own. And so if Christ himself understands that need, how much more do we? When was the last time that we just said, okay, I'm just going to put my cell phone down, I'm just going to step away, I'm just going to take some time to pray? Again, something simple, but it's very difficult to do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Any other questions before we wrap up?
How do I get on here? I wanted to say something. Am I
Oh,
on?
you're doing
You're
it.
on.
Okay. Hi, Ange.
Hi.
I'm Andy Thimalaeus. I'm Angela's uncle and godfather. That name is not me. But
I was gonna
loved your
say-
presentation. But here's something that I've been dealing with for many, many years.
Oh.
I try to do good things. As you know, I volunteer at a food bank at our church on Brotherhood Way and other things. But I tend to find myself kind of conflicting, because I will, to be honest, pat myself on the back for doing something good. And
Mhm.
then, maybe it's the Greek guilt, I don't know. But then I could say to myself, hey, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't be patting yourself on the back. You just go on. How do I balance? I mean, I'm conflicted when I say those things, because I should be feeling good about it, which I am. But then afterwards, I kind of criticize myself or condemn myself for feeling that good about it. What do you think about that, Ange?
I think that if you were only doing it, if you were, and I know you, I mean, I know you, that you're not only doing it to feel good about yourself. You're doing it because you care. You sincerely care and you want to help. And you, I mean, so much. So I think when we do caring things and good things, again, that's when all the release of all these good things, of all these, I mean, literally these feel good hormones,
Mm-hmm.
it's,
Mm-hmm.
it's, I mean, it's just part of like our makeup that we do feel good. And I don't know that it's bragging. I think it's feeling that you've contributed, that you've, it's an accomplishment, that you're feeling connected. So I think if you were only, I don't know, I guess maybe if you were thinking the only reason I ever do anything to help anyone is only to feel good about myself, and that's more of that would be more focused on you. But I know that's not, I mean, because I know you, but I think that's not what you're saying. You're saying when I do these really good things, if I'm hearing you right,
Mhm.
and I feel really good about it, but then I tell myself, oh, don't feel like too good about it.
Mhm.
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly.
Yeah. Why not?
I don't know what it is. Like I said, I
Yeah.
don't know, am I supposed
Right.
to be allowed to brag to myself or say those things to myself without saying, maybe you shouldn't go that route?
You know what? How about practicing some self-compassion and saying, instead of, because that's being so unkind to yourself. What would you say to me if I said this to you? If I said, I mean, I'm volunteering, I'm doing all these things, and I don't know, I just feel like I I shouldn't feel, too good about it, or think about it. I mean, I don't know, what would you say? What would you say to someone who said that to you?
Well, that's why I liked your comment. I think the father mentioned it as well, that no, I would be so positive towards somebody else. I wouldn't say, that was a nice thing you did, but you don't have to go saying it. I
Yeah.
wouldn't say those things, I
Right.
would be complimentary and I would be sincere about it. So
Right.
maybe your point about how would I treat them should be the same way I treat myself.
That's right.
And that's a good point. And I want to try to work with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good.
Good.
Thank you. I love you.
Good. I love you too.
Any other questions? No? Well, Angela, we just want to thank you again. Also, you were so organized. You gave so many great concrete tools that people can walk away with, and just really appreciate that.
Oh, sure.
So I just want to say thank you, Angela. Thank you, everybody, for joining us again, and we will hopefully see you all back in a few weeks for our fourth and last presentation. Thank you, and God bless.
You.
Thank you.
Thank you, Angela. Thank you
Thanks,
so
Ange.
much.
You're welcome. Take care, everyone. Be good to yourselves.
Hi, Andy.
Bye, Sue.
Thank you.
Bye,
Bye.
Dennis. I think Dennis